All right, today we're putting on our detective hats. We're not just going to look at who's fighting on a team, we're going to dig way deeper to find out what's really going on. We're looking for those hidden clues in a project's environment that tell the true story. So, let's get into it.
So I want you to think about the last time you saw a team arguing. Was it really about that missed deadline, or was that just the tip of the iceberg? It's so easy to see an argument and think, that's the whole story. But effective conflict management isn't about being a referee. It's about analyzing the context of the conflict. And that's exactly what we're going to break down today.
First things first. Like any good investigation, we have to start with the right perspective. For way too long, we've treated conflict like an iceberg. We get all worked up about the part we can see, the argument, the angry words, but we totally ignore the massive hidden chunk of issues under the surface that's actually causing all the trouble.
And this leads to a really huge shift in how we think about this stuff. The old way was to just blame people. Conflict was a failure, a sign that people just didn't get along. But the new view, it's so much smarter. It recognizes that conflict is just going to happen, especially when you have passionate people trying to solve hard problems. So the goal isn't to get rid of conflict, but to understand what's really causing it and fix that instead.
Okay, so if it's not all about clashing personalities, what is it? Let's line up the usual suspects, because we are about to bust a huge myth when it comes to workplace conflict.
And here it is, the big one. It is so tempting to just throw your hands up and say, oh, they just don't like each other. Blaming personalities is easy. It's the simple answer. But the data? The data tells a completely different story. The real culprits are almost always hiding in plain sight, baked right into the project structure.
And look at this. The research totally backs this up. The number one cause of conflict on projects? Schedules. Almost always. Right behind that, you've got fights over project priorities and who gets what resources. And personality, it's all the way down at the bottom of the list. Dead last. This is a game changer. It means the next time you see a fight, your first question shouldn't be, who's to blame? It should be, what in our system is creating this pressure?
So, this brings us right to the scene of the crime, so to speak, the project environment itself. Every single project lives in its own unique context, a set of conditions that can either set a team up for success or become the perfect breeding ground for conflict. Our job now is to map out this scene.
Now, a really powerful tool for this is something called a context diagram. I know it sounds a little technical, but don't worry, it's actually super simple. Think of it like a map of your project's universe. It puts your project right in the middle and then shows all the other people and systems it has to talk to.
Here's a great example of what that looks like. This diagram basically draws a boundary around your project. It forces you to ask those critical questions. Who's giving us information? Who are we handing our work off to when we're done? As soon as you map this out, you start to see where things might get messy. You can literally spot potential friction points before they blow up. It's like finding clues on a treasure map.
But, as we know, a project is not an island. It exists inside a much larger ecosystem, the entire organization. So to really understand a conflict, we have to follow the evidence upstream and look at that bigger picture.
I love this quote from the Agile Practice Guide because it says it all. You just can't separate a project from the company it lives in. The organization's culture, its power dynamics, even its unwritten rules. All of that stuff shapes your team's reality every single day.
So what kind of clues are we looking for at this level? Well, you've got to look at the company culture. Is it a place where people help each other, or is it kind of cutthroat? You need to dig into internal politics and those informal power relationships. Who really makes the decisions? All these things, market pressures, old policies, they create these invisible forces that can put a ton of strain on a project team.
Okay, so we've analyzed the project environment and the organization. So what? What do we do with all this information? Well, this is where all that detective work really pays off. This analysis isn't just theory. It's a practical compass that points us toward the right solution.
And here is the single most important takeaway of this whole thing. There is no one-size-fits-all solution for conflict. It just doesn't exist. The right technique always depends on the situation you're in. The context dictates your strategy, every time.
This table really brings it all home. Let's say you're under intense time pressure, or there's a safety issue. You don't have time for a big group hug. A forcing or directing approach might be necessary. But what if you have a really tricky problem and a team that trusts each other? That's the perfect time to collaborate and solve it together. Or maybe the stakes are low and you just need to keep things moving. Smoothing it over might be the right call. You see?
The context tells you which tool to pull out of the toolbox.
And that closes our investigation for today. If you take away just one thing, let it be this. Shift your focus. Don't just react to the argument. Step back, be the detective, and look at the whole context, the schedules, the priorities, the politics. Address the system that's causing the fight. So I'll leave you with this question. The next time you see a conflict brewing, are you going to jump into the argument, or are you going to analyze the context?